Are you a good boy? Answer me. Are you a good boy or not?
Yes.
Don't lie. Are you a good boy?
Yes.
I'll ask you one more time. Tell the truth. Are you a good boy?
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of our podcast, Two Guys, One Necronomicon, where today we will be talking about the movie A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
We are your hosts, Bryan, Hotboy, LaGrasta and Shane, I'll never tell, Smith.
These just keep getting weirder and weirder as we go along.
And we're the podcast that combines mustard and whole milk.
Yes, sometimes we like to put in a little bit of ketchup as well.
It's a real treat, especially when you're watching vampire films.
Yes, which is why I brought up ketchup, because it's red like blood.
Ugh.
Yes, disgusting.
I don't like tomatoes, Shane.
I'm a big fan of tomatoes.
You would be.
Speaking of tomatoes, Bri, we have our Twitter page officially made.
That is true.
Two Guys, One Necronomicon at Two Guys, One Necro.
Well, why don't you tell the entire world, Shane?
That's what I'm doing right now, because the entire world is going to listen, and they're all going to follow our Twitter page.
Please follow us so we can talk about horror movies, so we don't have to talk about horror movies with each other so much.
We just want to talk to someone else. That's really all we want.
Yeah.
Quarantine's been so lonely.
Yeah.
But anyway, vampire movies. I'm a big fan of them.
Me too. I love vamping out.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta bring out the vampire teeth.
Yeah, for sure. And vampire movies are cool because...
Nick Cage starred in one.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, well, there's that. Why else do you think vampire movies are cool, huh?
So, they have great death scenes. Like, they're very gory.
Yes.
But I know a lot of them are romantic. There's a lot of different love stories that are very cool.
Yeah.
I guess it's that contrast between, like, how does someone who's basically bound to the earth forever to live their lives alone form a relationship with someone else. And usually it's a human.
Yeah. That's the thing with vampire movies. You got the relationship ones like you're mentioning, then you just got your straight up horror where you're hunting vampires. The vampire movies give you all different types of them.
And then you have A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Yes, where this is not your ordinary vampire movie.
Yeah, so director Anna Lily Amirpour, I believe.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
She basically kicks every vampire trope in its ass.
Yes. And she basically, I guess you would call it like a art house.
This is very, very artistic movie.
Yes. It's not your traditional vampire movie. It's not boring, but it's very slow moving.
It's a slow burn. So I would say that people are either going to love this movie or stop it and not watch the rest of it because it's not for them.
Yes. So I've now seen this movie twice. The first time I watched it, I definitely enjoyed the film. Rewatching it to get ready for this episode, I didn't like it as much. And I feel like maybe it just lost its luster from watching it for the first time. And I couldn't get into how kind of slow moving and not plot. There is a plot, but it's not like...
Yeah, so this is a movie that doesn't draw from a story.
Yeah.
The story is told through characters' gestures,
yes.
the music, the backdrop.
Yes.
Basically everything that's not dialogue-driven.
The music in this movie is fantastic.
It hits so different.
Yes.
Like, and I don't even know how... How do you classify a movie like this? It's a... Drama probably is the only way I would be able to describe it, but it's like a horror, a western, a romance, without any romance, because there's absolutely none in the film.
There kind of is romance in the film. Like, not your typical romance. It's like a budding romance, I guess you want to call it, between the main two characters, the girl and the guy, Arash.
Yeah.
Arash,
yeah. So, like, I feel like a movie like this, an artsy movie, is kind of depicted in two ways, where the whole movie is motifs and metaphor.
Yes.
And everything represents something, and that's how the story is told. And if you're trying to follow a linear story, you will be lost in the wilderness. This movie has elements of that, but I think it also has a loose storyline that you could follow. Mm-hmm. I compare it to movies like Lynchian films, or something like by Nicholas Winding Refn, like Drive, that's completely pulsed by sound.
Yeah. Drive, love that movie. And that's a movie I've seen multiple times, and I appreciate that movie more and more, I feel like, as I've kept watching it. Whereas this one, like I said, the second viewing, I couldn't get into it. But it's not a bad film. I'm not saying it's a bad film, because it's very well made. The cinematography is great. The sound is great. The acting's really good. It's just like, I feel like it just wasn't for me watching it again.
That's fair. Like I said, you're either going to like it or you're going to dislike this movie. Or, I guess you don't dislike it. You just were like, eh.
Yeah, exactly. It's because I respect it as a good movie. It's just, it's not for me. So I'm not going to knock the film just because it wasn't for me, because it still is. It is a good movie. Let's get into something else, though. Something I want to bring up, since I knew we were doing a vampire movie. And that is top 10 vampire movies of all time.
I mean, so listen, there's a lot you can choose from. You're talking vampire movies.
Of course.
I will list one, and then you will list one. We probably have the same number one, and then the rest of them are different.
Which is why I want to work backwards.
You want to work from... That's interesting, because my number 10 is a golden film that is a masterpiece. And I will debate with anybody who disagrees.
Okay, let's hear it. What's your number 10?
The golden number 10, Jennifer's Body.
Interesting.
A perfect film.
No. I love that film. I get... Isn't she more of a succubus, though, than a vampire?
It's sexy. It's hot. She has sharp teeth.
Okay. My number 10 was Vampires, starring James Woods, where he plays a vampire hunter who hunts vampires because both of his parents were killed by vampires. The church then adopted him and turned him into a vampire hunter. And he has a rogue group of people that hunt vampires.
Interesting.
It is excellent. Also a John Carpenter film.
Interesting. So then I guess my next movie would be a movie I grew up reading the comics for, 30 Days of Night.
Okay. I have that movie on my list, just a little bit higher up. My number 9 is a movie I know you like. I don't know if it's in your top 10. Vampire's Kiss, starring Nicolas Cage.
So that movie's funny. It was nowhere near my list.
Oh, come on.
It was so far west of my list. But I appreciate it.
That movie. Nick Cage. Now, I don't want to jump the shark here, but he may have played the best vampire ever put on film.
Fair, I guess.
I'm kidding, but he's so good at being like this insane businessman and an insane vampire all at the same time.
Vampire's Kiss came out when Nicolas Cage was like hot.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like when he was bumping movies, when he was killing it, when he was an Oscar nominee. Mm-hmm. So like to drop a movie like Vampire's Kiss that he plays basically new age Nick Cage is kind of crazy. So he always had it in him.
I know, it's great.
Sly Devil.
I love it. All right, so what's your number 8 now?
Underworld.
That was
Kate Beckinsale in a tight outfit.
I definitely had that in my honorable mention movies. My number 8 is Blade 2.
Blade 2, yeah. You know, it's something crazy. I've actually only seen Blade 1. So
really?
I've never seen anything.
Well, the good news is you don't need to see the third one. It's a really bad movie.
Fair enough.
It does have Triple H, Ryan Reynolds, and I believe it's Jessica Biel.
I did need to watch it. That's like an all-star cast.
Yeah, Triple H actually, I think, performs a spine buster in that movie. It's kind of, that part is awesome. But Blade 2 is a great movie. It's a really good follow-up to the first one, and I will mention Blade 1 later in this list.
Okay, my next movie is Night Watch.
I've never seen that.
Yep. A little battle versus day versus night.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like a Russian film. I know it's foreign. I believe it's Russian.
I'll definitely have to check that out then. My number 7 is a movie I don't even think you know, Blood-Sucking Bastards.
No, I definitely don't.
It is a vampire comedy film. It takes place in an office setting, and I think it's the CEO of the company becomes a vampire, and they have to fight to get to take him. It's really funny. I could see some people not liking it. I actually don't even know what its rating is on like Rotten Tomatoes and all that, but I love that movie. I thought it was really funny.
Okay, good stuff.
So what's your number 6?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I've seen the TV show.
I love the TV show. I love the movie.
I've never
It's like
seen the
so corny, but you get a very young, hot, raw Christy Swanson and Luke Perry.
That's awesome. Okay, I like that.
It's funny. It's cute. It's sexy. It's got all the hits, all the good ones, all the classic Shane.
All right, my number 6. Not going to talk too much about this. Blade.
Yeah,
Absolutely
fair.
love Blade. Wesley Snipes is awesome as Blade.
Yes, he is.
You got Steven Dorff in the film as the bad guy, and he is absolutely incredible. Like, he's so good in that. It's crazy how, like, he's really good in that, and then he goes to, like, Alone in the Dark, and then he comes back years later in True Detective, and he's absolutely incredible.
To this day, I don't know how U-Bowl gets his actors.
He has to.
Like, I don't
know.
He has, like, these bomb scripts. Like, they're just absolute bottom of the barrel, trash, dumpster fires. But he really, I don't know if he just throws money at actors, because they cast incredible talents in this film.
Yeah, when you get, like, Jason Statham in, like, In the Name of the King.
Yeah, and then the sequel, and then the sequel after that.
That's right. Okay, so what's your number 5?
Not Blood Rain.
Okay. Blood Rain, I put down on my list of honorable mentions as a joke, and then I crossed it out.
That's fair. I wouldn't even, that doesn't even deserve to be on a 99-cent notebook.
That's true.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay. That movie is
That movie just
on my list as well.
It's incredible. I mean,
Yes.
what more can you say? It's just a classic.
Okay, so my number 5 is a movie Ray mentioned. It's 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
That movie is it's just a great vampire. If you like just seeing vampires go on a killing spree in a small town, it's so cool.
It's something like, I love small town atmospheres. When you have a small Alaskan town that's completely submerged in darkness, they have to huddle up in their houses while they're completely encamped by these almost mutant-looking vampires that have these sharp teeth and are just bound to kill everybody.
Okay. So what's your number 4?
Thirst.
Fun fact. My number 4 is Thirst.
There you go.
So you could just talk about it since we both have the same number 4.
Yeah, so it's an interesting movie, actually. It's a priest who decides to undergo this experiment to get rid of a disease, I guess?
Yes, it's a disease, I believe. He purposely injects himself with the disease, hoping to find a cure, but the cure turns him into a vampire. Isn't that what it is?
Correct.
Yes.
And he basically forms this relationship with this girl who's very mistreated by this family. She's like, I guess, a maid or like a cleaning lady.
Yeah, she's something like that.
And they form like this weird relationship because she's got like this really nihilistic personality, and they're just like going at it where his kind of clergy views kind of clash with her, and they form this interesting relationship and they vamp out.
They definitely vamp out. All right, since my number 4 was also Thirst, I'll let you go to your number 3.
My number 3. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Okay, that didn't crack my top 10.
And I didn't get a mention to say, because this is going to be an interesting episode, because you think this movie's okay. I watched this movie and liked it the first time. I loved it the second time.
Okay.
Like, I loved everything about this movie.
So we went in different directions there.
I'm particularly not a fan of artsy films, I guess. Yeah. I think some of these directors are complete and total snobs, and they'll beat you over the head with the meaning, like, 24/7. But I think this is a little bit more subtle.
Yeah, no, I could see what you're saying there.
And it's not even a bloody movie. Like, there's one bloody scene in the entire film. Yeah. It's like, everything about it, it's a very entrancing movie, from the visuals to, obviously, the town of Bad City, which is basically a modern-day representation of the slums of Iran.
I would assume so, yeah.
Where all you see is, like, oil pumping.
And the dead body pit.
The dead body pit that nobody acknowledges.
Yes, it's just there. We'll get into that. All right, so my number 3 is a movie I've loved since I was like a kid. Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, it's a great film. That's a great film.
You got Brad Pitt,
two hot
as vampire. Tom Cruise is a vampire. Christian Slater's the interviewer. Young Kirsten Dunst is a vampire. Just a great movie.
It is a good one.
All right, so you're number 2.
Movie that I loved as a kid, Lost Boys. Another bunch of hot boys. You got Kiefer Sutherland as this leader of a pack of vampires, and you have Jason Patric, who's kind of forming a relationship with Kiefer Sutherland's girlfriend, Star. So it's your classic coastal town good guy versus vampire brawl out movie.
Yeah, see, I've never seen Lost Boys, and I'm assuming it would have been on my top 10 if I had seen Lost Boys.
It's a comedy. It's like a comedy. It's not light comedy.
A lot of people say good things about it. So my number 2 is one of my all-time favorite movies. This is actually probably in my top 20 favorite movies of all time, and that's From Dusk Till Dawn.
There we go.
I absolutely love From Dusk Till Dawn.
It's an incredible movie.
It just everything about that movie, like Quentin Tarantino as the creepy brother rapist. Yeah. George Clooney is just this badass shoot who's ever in your life.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. Harvey Keitel as the priest. Just he was a priest. His wife died. He wasn't. He reforms in the middle of a vampire apocalypse to take everything out and just fight. Juliette Lewis is kicking ass.
That's true. Yeah, I always forget Juliette Lewis is
just
in that movie.
Great movie. And now let's go to your number 1 because I'm sure it's the same as mine.
It's the obvious, probably. If no one's seen it, this is like a definite must-watch vampire movie. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping it's the same one as you, because I'm going to actually talk about it before I mention. It's foreign. I think it's a Russian movie.
Yeah, it's something. It's Sweden, Russian.
It's been recently remade, starring Chloe Grace Moretz, but you definitely want to watch the original first. Let the right one in.
Correct. That is the only correct answer to a number 1 vampire movie.
It's a story about a boy who's basically bullied. I think his name is Oscar.
Yes.
And he kind of finds solace and forms a relationship with this girl named Ellie, and it just takes their relationship is just, it just takes a turn. And I don't even want to give too much away about it because it is like a perfect vampire movie.
We'll go more into it if we actually review it on the podcast.
I'd love to review it.
So would I, because like I said, it's my favorite vampire movie. It should be everyone's favorite vampire movie.
It's fair.
All right. Now that we got our top 10 vampire movies down, and Bryan has A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night in his, and I don't. Let's talk about this film.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is directed by Anna Lily Amirpour. It is a horror drama, but like I said, this could be classified as a million different things because it's got like this Western sound to it.
I know it's weird that our 3rd episode of a horror movie podcast, we're reviewing a movie that's barely a horror movie.
Yeah,
it does have vampires. Well, vampire, so...
Yeah, so it's basically, to give you a summary, Bad City, a half-deserted Iranian western town, a dark evil prowls among the worst of its unusual townspeople. Mm-hmm. This movie stars Sheila Vand as the girl and Arash Morandi as Arash.
I didn't know his name was his actual name in the film.
So this is like one of those movies where you have this town, right? And everyone in there is miscreants, but there's very few people in the actual town itself because everybody is literally dead.
If you go according to this film, there's maybe, including the Halloween party scene, 14 people that live in this town now.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this movie is every character in the movie has a, the before their name. Like, the girl, or the junkie, the prostitute, the pimp, the princess.
Yeah.
You have these, colloquial or very cliche characters, and then you have Arash. And I'm wondering, why is Arash not the boy? He's named Arash. And his real name is Arash.
So it's just the Arash.
I don't know if this was lazy. I think this was more of
It's definitely not lazy.
He's the one character that I guess is unique. You kind of see him develop. He's the one character that actually does develop through the story.
Oh, yeah. Well, no one else changes in the film. Everyone else is just who they are.
Yeah.
The girl is literally, like you said, she's just the girl. The vampire girl never has a name. You don't know what her name is.
Yeah, so this movie basically, just to give you a little background, as I mentioned, this movie is a representation of life in the slums of Iran. You have bad people doing bad things kind of on a cycle. Mm-hmm. This town is basically surrounded by a wasteland. There's just a bunch of bodies lying, and you're like, how did all these bodies get there? You eventually see that there's a vampire roaming the streets in a burqa.
It is such a cool look, that she throws it on. And the movie is in black and white, by the way, if we haven't mentioned
we haven't.
It's like an artistic choice, I would assume, to it's a black and white.
You're right. I think you're on something that it is very black and white. It's because you're either going to be bad or you're going to be dead.
Exactly. Because even the young boy, another young boy in back-to-back films now, he gets questioned, if you couldn't tell from our quote, has he been a good boy?
True.
And the vampire doesn't believe him.
So this movie's got a little bit of political subtext to it. Mm-hmm. And the director was going for an empowered woman to play this vampire who's kind of like is in this burqa, so she's portraying a religious kind of look. She's kind of defenseless, walking the night to be prowled upon while she actually is doing the prowling herself.
Yes.
So that's the premise of this movie, but it makes it even cooler. She's a young girl. She's actually gliding on a skateboard at night.
She steals the skateboard from the young boy.
Yeah.
So after that whole scene where she's like, have you been a good boy? And he says yes. And she's like, are you lying? Eventually, she says, I will be watching you to know if you've been lying to me. And the kid runs away and leaves the skateboard there.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And we're going to get more into this as we go through the entire movie and the synopsis. But she doesn't kill just to kill.
No, she has her motives.
Exactly. She watches, she stalks, and she kills to protect defenseless women.
Yeah. She essentially, if you're a bad person, that's who she goes after. Except one scene.
What I took from this is she acknowledges that this is a bad town, and she even acknowledges that she's a bad person in the movie. But she's there, and her purpose is to obviously protect women. I think the reason why you see all those dead bodies, no one pays attention to them, because this is like one of those things where like women who are defenseless are often overlooked. No one sees the girl that gets raped in the alley. So I think that's where the director was going a little bit with this film.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is like ripe for like a introduction to film college type movie.
Study all the metaphors. What does this scene mean? What does this scene mean? Type of thing.
So let's get into the synopsis, a play-by-play where Shane is going to give it all to you right now.
Okay, basically, Arash, he has a dad who is a junkie. His dad gets his drugs from a drug dealer. That drug dealer gets eaten by a vampire.
The end. It's over.
No. There is much more. Then Arash meets the girl. They have a budding relationship. Then the dad forcibly injects a prostitute with drugs.
Gets erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, I don't think that part happens. Then the vampire eats the dad, dumps the body. Arash finds the body.
Eats the mustard milk.
Doesn't happen. Then Arash and the girl meet up. I think he figures out it's her because of a cat that I haven't mentioned in the entire plot.
And the cat plays a huge role in this.
It actually does. We'll talk about that more.
We will be talking about the freaking cat, dude.
So then they're in the car with the cat, and he's like, oh shit, she probably killed my dad. He gets out of the car, and then he thinks, and he's like, ah, yeah, fuck it, my dad was a junkie anyway. Gets back in the car, and then her, the cat, and Arash stare out of the window, and the movie ends.
Great. Now let's really talk about what happens in the movie, even though he did just literally mention the movie in 5 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't miss much. Basically, everything I left out was very artsy, and no one was speaking.
Okay, so Shane's being a little loose.
A little loose. Just a little bit.
We could talk about the very opening scene. You see Arash, smoking.
Yes.
With his sunglasses, looking real cool, real Iranian James Dean.
He's the Iranian James Dean. We could go with that.
What does he do? He goes into a backyard and poaches a cat.
Well, I mean...
It was a quick poach. What would you call it?
He stole a cat. It might have just been rogue cat.
You're playing Pokemon. You're in the Safari Zone. What are you doing?
I'm probably throwing some bait.
You're poaching.
Yeah.
You're a poaching son of a bitch. I knew you were.
Whoa.
You kind of get a view of Bad City. This is where you kind of get a take in like what this town is about.
Well, yeah, because now they show you the body pile.
He walks through a body pile, pays no attention to literally half the town's population in the pit.
And it's pretty much like walking through Detroit.
Pretty much. So he walks through a bridge in downtown Detroit, past an odd, questionably looking woman. You see some of the characters. You see the begging young boy. They call him the street urchin. You kind of see that Arash has this pretty cool-looking car. He worked hard for this car. You can tell.
It's a good car. Good car.
Yeah, so then they introduce a character called Saeed. He's like this drug-dealing pimp. They call him the pimp.
Well, he is a drug dealer and a pimp.
Yeah, so. I found out that he has like this Jakesh tattoo on his forehead, and that is pimp.
Really?
I think in Persian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He kind of links up with Arash's dad, and he goes to Arash's house to get money for the drugs because Arash's dad is a junkie and he has not paid up.
No, he has not paid his money, and that's why the drug dealing pimp is there, and he wants his payment. And since they don't have the payment, what does he do, Bri?
He takes Arash's car.
That hot car.
That super, super hot car. And of course, Arash is very distraught because he's worked for it. He's mentioned that he's worked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine someone taking your Corsica.
Which is a car I had 12 years ago. And it's a car that the roof was coming in on the inside. It leaked oil, but I still love that car and I wish I still had it.
I still hear the tailpipe banging and clanging
on the ground
the
if I hit
cement.
a bump, yeah. What a classic car.
So now without a car, he's forced to ride a bike to work. And he takes odd jobs. You see him working, doing a little landscaping. There's this rich woman, they call her the princess, right? She's like trying to get some drugs from Arash, even though at the time Arash, doesn't really do drugs. He's just doing some landscaping. She calls Arash up to her room. You think you're gonna get a little action there, but you don't get any action. No passion there.
No.
What you're getting is him fixing her TV.
Yep.
She's a real tease.
Yeah, no, that's what she is. So he does the only logical thing, and he steals her earrings.
Yeah, he steals 2 nice earrings. She plays this, wealthy young girl. That's why they call her the princess. She can kind of do everything she wants to because she's pretty and she has some money. Mm-hmm. So why not have the landscaper,
Steal her earrings.
fix the TV.
Oh, yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Let me do them both. And then you never see her again.
No, you do.
Do you?
Yeah, in the club.
That's her? Did not know. That was the same. I thought that was a completely different character.
That's her in the club.
Wow.
Because everybody's in the club getting tipsy.
In all seriousness, I had no idea that was her in the club. That's wild. It makes that scene make a little bit more sense.
Shane, this movie's brilliant. Let's continue.
I had no idea that was her.
So then you see Addie. Addie is the prostitute. And you may, if you watch Netflix, know her from House Cards. She plays the journalist in season 2.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, I gotta start paying attention to actors more.
It's all good, dude. Don't worry about it. She's getting into a car with Saeed the pimp.
Yes.
And she hands him a large amount of cash.
Yeah, it's
his cut. He's a pimp.
Yeah, it's her sex worker money.
And then he also asks for a little something extra.
Yes, and she delivered. Well, he first berates her about her age.
Well, she's getting up there. She's 30.
I guess that's old in the sex worker business? I feel like, though, you hit a different market
The thing
when you
is,
get that old.
she's really the only prostitute in this town. And the reason I can tell that is not only because she's the only prostitute, but it's because her name is the prostitute. And there's no, the prostitute B or the prostitute 2.
Well, she does have a name, though, in the movie.
Addie.
Addie, yeah.
Yep, that's true.
But, so she does give him a little extra,
He does this thing, and it's very curious. He sticks his finger in women's mouths.
Yes.
It gets him good.
Yeah. So then she starts sucking his finger. She starts going to town on that.
This is where you first see the girl.
Yes.
You first see.
She's lurking in the shadows.
The vamp. She's watching this scene play out. Even as Saeed takes the prostitute, because the prostitute gets distracted from her night job.
Yes.
Throws her out of the car, and this is what triggers the girl. She's like, I'm now gonna follow this guy.
Yep.
So Saeed basically takes off, goes back to his house. You see the girl, she leaves the store, and she's walking down the street. She goes home, she puts on some makeup, because she's ready for an encounter with the pimp.
Yes. They walk past each other on the street, and then she stops, right? And then the drug dealer looks back at her, and he basically is just like, you want to come home with me?
He's like, hey.
And so, obviously, since she's a pyre, she's like, yeah. Because you always have to invite a vampire in or it can't come in your house.
Did that play? I feel like no tropes played into this movie. Just besides the fact that she stays
to
at
be
home.
fair, that trope has nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah.
It just is in other movies, obviously.
Yeah, because, vampire movies have these things, like the garlics, the steaks. You have to invite a vampire.
Can't see its reflection. Yeah.
This movie is none of that besides the fact that you never see her in the day, right?
Yeah, you don't. You never see her outside in the day. So anyway, she goes back to his apartment. And into my favorite scene of the entire movie.
This is the best scene of the movie because this pimp is just so freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, dude. He just
plays
this techno music.
He's playing this poppin' song, and I'm just watching. I'm like,
yeah, just fist bumping. He's got his Tiger King poster with his Tiger King blanket, and then he gets up after ripping lines.
He is snorting so much blow right now.
Yes, and then as the music's pumping, you know what else needs a pump? His arms. So he just starts pumping weights, just out of nowhere.
That's true. He starts doing a couple of curls. And she's watching this, and she has not said a word.
No.
She's taken in the scene. So he does about maybe 4 curls an arm, and he goes up to her, starts doing a little dancing, unzipping his tracksuit.
And I gotta wonder if this has ever worked.
This guy has barely a tattoo.
Yeah, no, he has a lot. But no, seriously, would this move work on anyone in real life?
Probably not, but because of his positioning
as a drug dealer,
as the town drug dealer, and he's wealthy. He's got a briefcase full of money
on the table
and coke.
Yeah,
on the table.
He does. He definitely has both.
So he kind of does this dance, and then he turns around and starts doing more coke.
Yes. But then he gets ready to do his signature move.
And what is the signature move, Shane, Roy?
He takes the finger and starts putting it on her mouth and then in her mouth.
Yeah.
Except this has a little different ending. His finger gets bitten off.
Yeah. So he sticks his whole finger in her mouth, which begs me to think, has she experienced this before with someone else's finger? She bites it just from the knuckles.
Yeah.
Before she takes it off, he enjoys the bite a little bit. Well, he enjoys the sucking, and her fangs come out.
Oh, yeah, that's
right.
right.
And he's intrigued by the fangs.
I forgot about that, yes.
This dude, and at this point, we never really mentioned this, so I think it's a great time to mention it. We have a friend, and his name is Mike, and this guy's a real son of a bitch.
Yeah.
He's the kind of rat brain character that'll come up with something called a passion bump.
Yes. So basically, if a scene in a movie starts getting, like, a little hot, or, it's a male and a female character, 2 males, 2 females, whatever it be, start getting a little passionate, his index finger, it starts to point and wiggle.
Yeah, he, raises it up, and starts wiggling it around like it's almost independent from his body. This
like
moron.
A cattail.
Yeah.
So, we want to introduce a segment we like to call, Is This Scene a Passion Bump?
Yeah. Because we rate movies, obviously, on a scoring of 1 to 10, and Mike will actually give a movie a little flare up if there's a passionate moment in the movie. So this would be a perfect example of a passion bump.
Yes. Especially, the scene starts to get really hot. After the finger is bitten off, she takes it and puts it on his mouth.
That's true.
And then shoves it in his mouth.
Yeah, and I don't think he likes it because he's getting eaten at the same time.
Yes.
And this is the only bloody scene in this movie.
Yes. The whole scene is awesome. It's by far my favorite scene in the movie. It's just really well done. It's suspenseful because you don't know exactly how. She's going to probably eat him, but you don't know how or what the situation. But
exactly.
It's very well done.
Then you see Arash, and he's walking the streets, and he sees his car.
Yeah.
And he knows that the pimp has his car, so he goes into the pimp's house, and he sees the girl walk out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
The girl's got blood all over her mouth, and he's like, okay. And this is their first encounter.
Yes. So he does what any rational person would do. He goes inside the pimp's house, steals his coke, steals his money, and then takes his car keys and just leaves the dead body there.
Yep.
This
movie has no justice, so there is no police around.
There's barely people, so there's not going to be police.
Yeah, exactly. So we get back to Arash's house. He's taking care of his father, and you see the briefcase in the house. This is how you know that he took it.
Yes. One other thing I just want to point out. Arash wasn't the only one to steal from the drug dealer. The girl also stole a bunch of valuables from him.
That is true.
She stole the watch.
She stole the watch, yeah. She stole some jewelry and some bling, because he had bling around his neck. You actually see Arash dragging Saeed's corpse into the body pit.
Oh, yeah, you do.
He does drag it. Apparently, some people know about the body pit, but nobody ever cares about it.
Yeah, or talks about it.
So then we see Arash, and he started doing a little slinging himself, trying to make some cash. Then you see his father, who tries to pick up the prostitute.
She says, "You don't have money to pay for me."
Apparently, they've been going at it for a long time. It's probably her primary source of income.
Mm-hmm. That Hossein?
Yeah, and he kind of follows her around, and then eventually you see the girl.
Yes.
And she meets up with his father, the junkie, and she's mirroring his every movement.
Mm-hmm.
If he moves an arm up, she moves an arm up. He walks a couple of steps, she's walking a couple of steps. And this is very creepy. She's doing everything he's doing. She has not said a word yet. So you see this very young girl in this black burqa slinking the streets, and it is a very tense scene.
So after that scene, after the father leaves, that's when the boy skates up.
Yeah, then you see the young boy, the young street urchin.
The boy skates up, and she's in front of him. And he goes around, and he starts skating again, and she's in front of him again. And that's when she grabs him. She goes through that whole, have you been a good boy? Now, what she says to him, I actually wrote this down because I absolutely love it. She says he's a liar, and she says she will take out his eyes and feed them to dogs if he is a bad boy.
Yeah, and
that is so, like, graphic, because this kid can't be more than, like, what, 10?
No, and
11?
this literally scares the tweed jacket off of him.
He's so scared, he leaves his skateboard, and that's how she gets the skateboard.
So, this is the idea of the movie. This is why the scene is important. This is the future of Bad City. This young street peddler.
Yeah.
Right?
And she's trying to correct what's wrong with the
So
city.
you're not going to be like every other guy, because I'm going to watch you forever and make sure that you're not. Because if you are, you just lied to me.
Yeah. And that's where it's like things like this, like why it's a good message, it's like a good plot development, it's a good character development for everyone involved. It's just, overall, it's too artsy for me. And
it is very art house.
And that's why, you know, if it's your type of movie, you'll like it.
True. After that, you see a scene between Arash, the Iranian-looking James Dean, and his father, this junkie, and coke-blowing, syringe-injecting father. You know, every boy's dream is to have a dad like this.
Yes. His dad currently is going through withdrawals, though.
He is feeling the heat.
Yes. Because since his drug dealer died, he has no access to it because Arash is not giving him any drugs yet. He is refusing to give it to him. He's trying to get his dad clean. Yeah,
and he pulls a photo, Arash. He looks at a photo of his father and his mother. His mother's missing. You don't know if she's dead.
In the body pit.
You don't know if she left. In my interpretation, I think that she actually left. But then there is a scene later where Hussein thinks the spirit of his wife is in the cat.
I think she passed away. So, I think she passed away, and that's why he went off the deep end.
Yeah, so I guess you can... They never mention it, but I guess you can draw that conclusion.
It's your own conclusion there.
Yeah. So, at this point, Arash has a new job. Mm-hmm. He's working at the club. And what is he doing at the club? He's slinging E.
He is slinging E.
So, the princess...
who I did not realize was the princess,
asked him for a little X. And you know who's next to him? This girl is dressed up as a skeleton. Mm-hmm. Anna Lily Amirpour, the director of the film.
Didn't know that either.
And
you're just full of facts.
So he doesn't want to give. He wants to sell it. He doesn't want to, just give it to, a young girl that could have like a bad episode with drugs. So eventually he caves and gives it to her. Then she asks for another one. He doesn't want to give it to her.
But he does cave and give it to her.
And she's like, you know what? I ain't going to take this, but I'm going to shove it right in your mouth.
And never, ever let someone shove something in your mouth like that.
No. So, at this point, you see some transy dancing. He tries to go in for a little kiss. She's like, nah, not having it, bro. And he's having a bad time.
A bad mix is him on X and him getting turned down because he then just stares for what feels like 77 minutes.
Are you talking about at a streetlight?
Oh, no, I even mean just at the club.
He sees, pretty much all the denizens of the town.
No, but I mean specifically after she rejects the kiss, he kind of just stares into the void. It's almost like...
I think that he's a good guy. I don't think he's ever done drugs before.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the mix of the drugs and getting turned down by that girl that just, he just stares. And then we leave there, and you're right, he's still just staring at a street lamp.
Just on a lot of E at this point. Or just actually, it was one pill. I don't know the dosage, but he was feeling it.
I don't know, but...
So then, guess who meets him?
The girl.
She skates on by. By the way, cool thing about this movie, the long shots of her skating...
It looks like she's floating.
That too, but also, the director is the one skating.
Really?
Because she's a skateboarder, and she kind of resembles the lead, Sheila Vand, so she did the skating.
I've learned a lot about the director and her skateboarding abilities now. No, what I thought was cool is sometimes with the long burqa on, you don't really sometimes see the skateboard, so it kind of just looks like she's floating down the street or down the sidewalk. Cool. And I thought that was a really cool touch to her being a vampire. She kind of just is this ethereal figure that just floats down. It's really cool.
So he mentions he's never been like this before to her. So obviously he's never been on drugs. And he takes her hand because they get very close, and he's like, "Oh, you're really cold."
Could be because she's dead.
Yeah. So, at this point, he's on drugs. He just hugs her, warms her up.
I think my passion finger's wiggling a little bit.
Mike G, that rat-brained bastard's finger'd be going wild right now.
From that, she actually invites him to her home.
And how does she get him there?
There's really only one way to get someone there, and that is to put them on the skateboard and wheel them down the sidewalk.
Wheel them down into the house. So they're in the room, and they don't talk to each other for like 2 minutes as they listen to music.
Which, banger song, by the way.
Yes.
I just want to throw that out
very
there.
eclectic music.
The song is awesome.
And they get very close after a good 3 minutes of music. 3 minutes.
If you like staring and listening to music for 3 minutes, this scene is great for you.
And she pulls back his neck, exposes his neck. And it looks like she's going to go in for the bite.
Yes.
But doesn't?
No, she goes underneath the neck and kind of just holds him.
It's like she's like hearing his heartbeat.
Yes. So she's figuring out when the pulse is right to get the most blood.
So, and as Shane mentioned before, she watches the townspeople, and she knows he's different. If he wasn't different, she would have killed him already.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
She notices that he's different. He's not like the other guys. He's caring. So she kind of like has seen his background, and you could tell she's been doing this for a long time.
Yes.
So as day breaks, and as you can see, like this is a scene where you don't know if anything happens between them. I guess they just hang out and he sleeps over. He spends the night. Dawn breaks. You see the questionably looking woman dancing with a balloon.
Yeah.
And this is a passionate dance. And I'm thinking to myself, why is this in the movie? And everybody would be thinking to themselves, this can be cut out and this would be great. But there's a reason. And this is a metaphor. And of course, it doesn't have to be in the movie. But if you want to get technical, I can tell you what this scene represents. It's just to show, like, I guess people should be able to be happy in their own lifestyles. But a place like Bad City, some people are not able to be who they want to be.
So that makes the scene very good then. I like that message. It's just, the message is there then when you really think about it. But if you're just kind of watching the film, hoping for a vampire film, it's just like a 1 minute scene of someone dancing with a balloon that has nothing to do with anything else. It never comes back in the movie.
So then Arash is home. He's like picking at his eggs, not really eating it. He doesn't look like he has an appetite. His father asks him, he's like, where were you? He's like, I was with a girl. I don't remember her name. She probably never gave it to me. She probably doesn't have one.
Yeah, because she doesn't.
Yeah. So then you see the prostitute, right? Mm-hmm. And she's seen keying Arash's car. At this point, she probably still thinks it's the pimp's car.
Yes, exactly. She wouldn't even know who Arash is.
She probably doesn't even know the pimp is dead.
That's a good point. She probably only sees him when she has to give him the money.
Yeah. So the girl spots her keying the car, and she does what she does best. She follows her. Mm-hmm. She's very good at following. She'd be an expert vampire detective.
Yes.
Then the prostitute asks, why are you following me? And she just hands her jewelry.
Yeah. Oh, the drug dealer's jewelry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She just gives it to him. But I forgot. Does she know that it's the drug dealer's jewelry?
Yeah.
Okay.
She definitely does. And that's why she's like, come in the house. Come in now. Mm-hmm. She pulls her in there. And then she asks her, she's like, where you get the jewelry, knowing that it's his. And she doesn't respond. Eventually, she tells her that she's been watching her, every night. And that the girl can tell the prostitute is a very sad person. That she doesn't know what she wants. She probably doesn't even remember what it's like to want something. Mm-hmm. And then she just like looks up, and this is what I mean by great vampire detective. She sees a map, and she sees some things. And she's like, you're trying to leave this place. You don't want to be here anymore. You're saving up money by whoring yourself, and you want to get out of here. There's actually a quick part where she even mentions to her, like, kind of getting some information about the girl. The prostitute asks her, she's like, what are you, like, religious or something? She's like, no, obviously, the whole look is to look defenseless.
Exactly. Which goes with the title, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Yeah.
The title makes it seem like it's a defenseless girl walking at night where, like, someone would attack her, and obviously she's the real danger in the film.
Exactly. And she's like, are you a thief? And she's like, no, I'm a vampire detective. Next scene, as it fades, she eats a hobo?
Yes. That's exactly what I took it as. Everyone she has met recently, for the most part, has been the only good people in town. So she hasn't fed. That's where I think a lot of the pit also comes to, is like, she does have to eat, so if there's no bad people, she still has to eat someone. She can't starve herself. So
exactly.
She eats the homeless population.
So it's like, yeah, it's like who's she gonna eat? Is she gonna eat Addie? Is she gonna eat the homeless guy that no one will see? Unfortunately,
she chooses the homeless
That's
guy.
the case. I also kind of can see another way of looking at it, maybe, is that she's a flawed character herself.
Well, of
so
course.
she knows that she has to make sacrifices, and she has to She needs to eat. She's gonna do it.
Yeah, well, that's, vampire law.
Okay.
So after that, she gets to her home, and that's when she sees the note on her door, which is from Arash, that says, "Meet me at the power plant at 10 p.m., I believe is the time he says to meet.
Now, if you're friends with a guy named Dyatlov, you're not gonna want to go to a power plant.
It's true, because it will blow up. And then he'll tell you to go to the reactor and fix it, despite the reactor not being there.
That's a story for... We'll never actually...
We don't do a series.
It's literally a great TV show, though.
But highly recommend it. Watch Chernobyl on HBO.
Yeah, so they meet up, and he's waiting by his car, and this dude is so hot, Shane. He's so... Actually, can I put my finger in your mouth?
Well, yeah, of course.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, no, that was good. Really good for a podcast, finger in the mouth.
Yeah, so he offers her a hamburger. I mean, I would offer a girl a hamburger, too, if we were just hanging out, chilling.
At the power plant?
At the power plant.
Yeah, you could probably cook it off the reactor fumes.
That's true. So she looks at this hamburger that's like sizzling off the reactor fumes, and she can't eat it. And he's like, I never met someone that didn't like hamburgers. Clearly, he never met a vegan.
Yeah, or a vegetarian. Which, aren't there vegetarians in Iran?
There probably is. I mean,
yeah.
I would assume they're everywhere. I feel like vegans now, and I have nothing against vegans or eating a plant-based lifestyle, but there's more in surplus nowadays, so I would think that there would be one there. So he does something that he knows she enjoys, and that's music. He even asks her, what's the last song that you listened to? She says, Hello, Hello by Lionel Richie. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty sexy. He then gives her the princess's earrings.
Yes. And she points out that she doesn't have her ears pierced, so they do what you would do in this situation. He gets his lighter, he gets a safety pin, and he pierces her one ear, and her vampire teeth come out. He doesn't notice because she kind of looks away.
This is another reason why this movie is absolutely brilliant. Because she has a safety pin on her, and he has a lighter on her. The two things you need to be able to pierce an earring.
It's true. And that is a thing people do, because my mom had her ear pierced that way when she was a kid.
Wow.
So, just a fun fact I'm throwing out there. So, after that, he's like, she winces, and he's like, oh, do you want me to stop? And she's like, no. So, he pierces the other ear, and now she has the princess's earrings in.
Yeah. And then he goes in for a kiss, and then she just says it. I've done bad things. Mm-hmm. This is where she admits she's bad. She's like, I'm bad. And he's like, I've done bad things, too. She's like, I'm a bad person. And she walks away. Mm-hmm. He's left there, kind of stunned. Kind of curious to see what's up with this girl.
Yeah. She's a mystery.
So then the scene shifts to Arash's dad back at the house, and this guy's having a bad time. He's like talking to the cat.
He's hitting the withdrawals like hard now. Like you said, talking to the cat. He starts yelling at the pictures of his wife.
Yeah, he's like, you ruined me. Why'd you leave me? So, and he thinks that this, like I said, the spirit of the wife is in this cat. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, I think this cat is bigger than we think.
Well, I want to hear this.
I'm not going to mention it.
Really?
Until the end of this podcast.
Okay. The cat is his wife.
Now we're getting places.
Okay.
I'll explain later, Shane.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
I have humongous plans for this feline.
Okay. I can't wait to hear it. Because what happens here is now Arash comes in, sees the dad flipping out, that he destroyed the apartment.
And he's like, Dad, I've had enough of you.
I can't take this anymore.
Dad, you greasy son of a gun, you get out of your own house.
So what does he do? He gives him the drugs first. Well, he doesn't actually put the drugs in him, but he's like, here, go kill yourself. Gives him the drugs, throws him out of the house, and he's like, you know what? I'm sick of this fucking cat. Take the cat, too.
He's like, I stole this cat for you, and you know what? You don't deserve it, but you know what? I don't want the cat. You take the cat.
Yeah, you take Mom.
Into the womb of the prostitute.
I mean, that's where I would crawl up into a ball.
He has her dance for him.
Yes.
Right? Guess they're on his dime, so she's dancing for him, and then he's like, all right, shoot up some drugs.
And she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
He's a bad dude, so he's forcing her to do drugs. He's forcing her to inject.
Yes, he forcibly injects her with the drugs. Then he injects himself.
And I want to say that these are good drugs. That these are strong, noble drugs. Clearly, I know nothing about these kinds of substances.
I am guessing it's heroin. I'm also trying to figure out why anyone would do this.
Yeah.
It just seems like a bad time.
And at this point, the girl is actually, like, sensing this.
She could sense almost like when someone she meets is in danger that she, like, has taken as a good person.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, the second this happens, she is in the house.
And she is on this guy like mustard on milk. So now the prostitute gets to really see what this girl is. She's asked her before, what are you? She never responded. She ain't a thief.
No.
She ain't a religious girl.
No.
What is she doing in the middle of the night riding a skateboard? She's a skateboarding vampire who's also moonlights as a detective.
That actually sounds like a movie I kind of want to film. Like an actual vampire detective at like a precinct in New York that skateboards through the streets of Manhattan.
It's a hit. It's like a Lifetime movie that should actually be on Spike TV.
Yes.
They drag Hossein's body into like this deserted looking alleyway.
Yes.
And she looks up, the girl, and she sees the boy, the little
watching
what's going on. She doesn't really care to do anything. She leaves. He's promised to be a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's back at the house with Addie, and Addie tells her that she has to leave and to take that cat with her. And the girl appears to have formed a bond with this cat.
Yes.
We know that this cat hits just a little bit different.
Exactly.
So the girl leaves with the cat. Switch on over back to the scene with the dead corpse. The little boy, known as the street urchin, is around. He starts to take people to the dead bodies. Like, dead body, dead body, dead body.
$2 to see the dead body.
Extra, read all about it. There's a dead body here, and I seen who did it, but I won't say because I'm scared for my life.
He is no snitch. This boy is so scared of the vampire, he doesn't sell her out at all. When Arash is like, who did this? Did you see anything? The boy's like, zip lips, I ain't telling you shit.
No, he's literally scared poopless.
Yes.
Arash now knows that his dad's dead as Disco.
Yeah. Disco is actually more alive than the dad at this point.
No, for sure. They're back at his house and he's packing up. He's like, I'm ready to leave Bad City. I'm packing up. And then you kind of see Arash. You know he's going to go to the girl's house, but you see these shots of him like entering a tunnel. Do you know what I'm talking about with the light?
Yeah, like he's Mean Joe Green going to give the coke to the young boy.
Yeah.
Dude,
so
every time I saw that
through
scene.
the tunnel. No, I think this is just like kind of like her purview of knowing, like sensing someone.
That someone's coming.
Yeah, that's how I took it. I don't know if that's what the director was going for.
I just kept thinking of like a football tunnel and someone getting ready to throw a jersey to a fan.
And Arash is sitting outside of her house, and she opens the door, and he just walks right in.
Yeah, he's like, you have to leave with me. We're going.
And he's like, yeah, pack your things. We're getting out of here. He's like, I can't be alone right now. And she's like, okay. She,
all right.
Changes out of her clothes.
And so she takes her arm and just swipes all the valuables into a bag that she stole from the drug dealer and I'm sure other victims. And while she's doing this is when Arash notices the cat is in her apartment. His dad's cat is in there, and he's, in his head, looks like he's putting 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, he can do math, so he knows 1 + 2 is 3, and that she killed his father.
Exactly. 2 + 2 = 5.
Oh, Shane Roy. So he's watching her very intently put everything into the bag, get ready to pack up, and he doesn't run. She puts on her burqa, she picks up the cat, and she leaves with him. Now they're driving in this cool car. Now this is a super cool dude in a super legit ride.
Yeah, he's driving. She's in the passenger seat. The cat is dead center of the shot.
And that's amazing. So he pulls over on the side of the road. He's like, give me 1 second. Gets out of the car, does a little pacing, because if my dad just died, and I'm not very fond of this dad guy, because he's kind of a druggie, but he's dead, and I know she did it. What am I going to do? Am I going to leave Bad City with this girl? Then again, I did see her in the beginning of the movie, covered in blood. What was that about? She must have killed the pimp too. I'm putting 1 and 2 together, and I'm getting back in the car, but I'm not going to say a word to her.
No, because, let's be honest, he has been getting favors basically done for him from her. She killed his drug dealer problem. Yeah, it's his dad, but it's his junkie dad who's kind of been ruining his life most of the movie.
He sealed the only tie he had left to Bad City.
Exactly. So she essentially has freed him.
I would say this shot is awesome. It's like a 2-minute shot of them in the car. You see Arash. You see the cat. Mm-hmm. And you see her. The cat is like splitting them. The cat, the subject of their awkward moment.
The cat is like almost the main focal point of the last shot.
Exactly. So he's kind of looking over at her with his peripherals. She's looking outside the window with her peripherals. I don't know about you. I think at this moment, she knows that he knows.
No, without a doubt.
Yeah?
I would think without a doubt. Like,
and she's thinking, she's like...
Let's see what he does.
Let's see what he does.
And what does he do? He puts in the cassette.
Dude, and that was a great mixtape choice, dude. That was great.
No, yeah, the mixtape just is... it's a banger. And they calmly sit in the car while the cassette is playing.
And then
they slowly look at each other.
Just like I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, and all I see is a mustache from 1983.
Yes, and all I see is a backwards hat. And right behind us on a bed is a cat. Just kidding. The cat hides from me. It hates me.
That's true. My cat hates everybody.
And yeah, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, so they basically look into each other's eyes, and there's a very strong leer. It's like they're looking past each other almost. And then the headlights come on, and they drive right out of Bad City into the night forevermore. So with that being said, Shane, and all things considered, what are you scoring it, dude?
All right. So like I said, cinematography, great. The acting, great. The film work, the sound, all of that is fantastic. But for me, it was a little bit of a boring movie. It was slow at times. Had scenes where people danced with a balloon for 1 minute that made no sense. So basically, I'm going to say... I'll still give it a 6.
Fair enough.
I would go 5 for my personal taste in the movie, but it's too good of a movie to give a low rating. To be honest, I'll say 6.5. I think 6.5 is a fair rating for it.
Yeah, I mean, but we're not giving halves.
So 6.
So you're going 6. I'm going a hard 8.
Yeah.
I obviously, as I mentioned, I love this movie. I get why some people will dislike it. It's really genreless. Mm-hmm. It's a developing love story that has almost zero romance, but the pacing and visuals are, in my opinion, masterful. I love the idea of Bad City as this place where these cretins are free to do as they please with no sense of justice, mm-hmm. as evidenced, as I mentioned, by the body pit, and where you see this girl just stalk the night in her burqa.
And it's things like that I do like. I like her outfit. I like her presence in the shadows, her watching the people, her following the people, her interactions with the people. But like, as a whole, it's just like, it's just too slow for me.
Yeah,
I just couldn't get into it. It's just what it is.
It is a little bit of a slow burn. Like I mentioned, the pacing of the film is you're really mesmerized by music. Mm-hmm. You gather story by detailing the backdrop, detailing, the expressions on the characters' faces. Mm-hmm. You're not getting a story through dialogue. You're not getting that. That's not this kind of film.
Yeah. Which is maybe why I couldn't get it. Maybe I just need more talking in a film to enjoy it. Also, like I said, I enjoyed it more my first viewing. Maybe it's just seeing it a second time. I knew kind of what was already going to happen. So it's like, since it was a slow film, it's like, all right, I know it's going here. Can we just get here already kind of thing. Whereas the first viewing, I'm like, okay, where's it going? I actually don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it completely. I think that what's cool about this film, why I liked it, is although it was very thematic, it didn't overkill.
No, it definitely doesn't do that. It's not Mother.
No, yeah. Oh, God. Look, you can enjoy this movie without even thinking about, like, the subtext.
Exactly. Yeah.
And obviously everything's up to interpretation as well. But I like this movie because it's literally a vampire film in reverse. You usually see the vampire prowl on the damsel. Instead, the damsel's doing a little bidding of her own.
Yes.
But like I said, she's going after, manly predators. Usually you see, a Nosferatu sucking the neck of somebody else, like a defenseless person. So no, I think it's a cool idea.
Like you said, normally it's like you have a guy vampire and he feeds on like women characters or defenseless women or homeless people, where this is a woman vampire who feeds on only men.
Yeah.
She kills the drug dealer, she kills the junkie dad, and she kills a homeless guy. So, I mean, it's very different.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about the ending. I think the ending's great.
Yes. I wouldn't say great, but I think that was a good way to end the film, with both of them acknowledging that what's happened with her killing it and just being like, okay, let's get out of here. Let's basically they're putting all of their past behind them and going on to a new life.
Yeah. And I would say great with a GR and an 8.
Oh, that's very clever. That's clever.
I think too many movies nowadays leave everything, up to viewer interpretation. That's kind of like a cliche thing nowadays, which I'm fine with, but depending on the movie, it's like hit or miss. It obviously works for like American Psycho or movies like that. But I don't think it would have worked with this movie. I'm happy we got kind of like a straightforward ending. The thing is, and we're also like we are left with one idea. Will this relationship work? A viewer, maybe not myself, would say, how could it? A vampire and a human. That's like anybody in Taco Bell at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, what the relationship between the people in Taco Bell and the cashier trying to serve these drunk people that probably shouldn't be driving the Taco Bell, that's how's it going to work?
Exactly. Now, I've got a little trivia for you.
Okay.
Before I go into my tinfoil theories about this movie.
Okay, let's hear it.
So for trivia, vampires never mentioned in the movie once.
That is true.
Dracula is mentioned in the movie because he's wearing the Dracula outfit.
Yes, he is.
Speak about him being Dracula
he says he's Dracula
3 times. I think he mentions it, or 2 or 3 times. But
she never says anything about it.
Vampire is never mentioned in this movie, which I think is pretty interesting. So the cat. The cat is her mother.
Wait, is his mother?
Is his mother? Sorry.
Okay.
The cat is both of their mothers.
What?
Yeah, the cat is both of their mothers.
All right, so now hold on. Tinfoil hat being placed on.
Yeah, my tinfoil hat has been on, dude. He swipes the cat in the beginning of the movie.
Correct.
Because he's drawn to it. He's like, my dad would like this cat. The father at first loves the cat and then finds out, it's the spirit of my wife. Cat has been stolen from him because he gets killed by her. She picks up the cat and she takes the cat because she's drawn to it thinking, this is my mother. This nurturing soul. If you remember, when she's outside of the prostitute's house and the prostitute is getting, before she kills the junkie, the cat looks up and that's when she prowls. It's like she's drawn to this cat.
Interesting. Okay. I'm following you. I don't know if I'm buying in, but I'm following what you're saying.
And then, obviously, he meets back up with her and they're kind of reunited with the cat. So you see the last shot of them together with the cat and the cat in the middle. It's like the mother has brought the family back together. They never had any romantic scene. There was no passion between both of them. You've seen some scenes where they got close,
yeah,
but they never did anything.
That's true.
They got close to kissing once,
but they did not.
And they're leaving town as brother, sister, and mother cat.
All right, I'm not gonna buy what you're selling me.
What do you think I'm selling you? Mustard milk?
No. I get what you're saying. I just don't know if the cat... I like more so that the cat was just his mother, maybe.
The cat needed to leave. The cat was brought back to the father.
But the cat needed to leave the father.
Needed to get out of there.
Okay. Interesting. I guess I definitely didn't think about it that way.
I'm going to contact Anna Lily Amirpour and say, Hey Anna, what'd you do with the cat? What's the story behind the cat?
I need details on this cat.
Give me the cat lore.
Okay. You got any more little, tinfoil you want to throw at me?
No, shameless plug our Twitter page already.
Okay. So, if you made it this far, now you can listen to this. We have now officially made our Twitter page. It is 2 Guys from 1 Necronomicon, and you can follow it at 2 Guys 1 Necro.
That's 2 Guys 1 Necro.
Yes, we will be posting updates about what movies we'll be reviewing, our release schedule if it changes, and, maybe we'll throw some funny memes up there.
We're not doing this just to do this. We want to be able to interact with people, get their takes on films. We want them to probably criticize the reviews that we're doing and say how we're dumb idiots.
Yeah, we're big stupid idiots.
But we do love movies, and we love people who love movies.
And we love talking about the movies.
That's true. Whether we're right, wrong, or cats are actually spirits of humans.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about it.
Please give us a follow and interact with us.
We'll answer.
Well, I think that's it for today's episode, Shane. Do you want to maybe reveal the movie we're doing next week?
Yes. I want to reveal that we have absolutely no idea what movie we're going to be releasing next week.
Okay, Shane, this makes me realize that me and you are really not on the same wavelength.
Did we?
The Lighthouse.
That's right. We did have The Lighthouse.
The follow-up to the very successful Robert Eggers film, The Witch.
Which is a incredible movie.
Yeah, it really is. And I would love to do that one.
All right. So next week we will be reviewing The Lighthouse, which is a film I have not seen yet, but will be watching this week.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
You will basically be getting our initial reactions to the film. We'll be recording this podcast right after we watch that film.
It's gonna be like Birth.
Yes. So The Lighthouse is going to happen. And as soon as it ends, we're going to like kind of slide out from the bottom of the credits.
So we will be back Monday at 6 a.m. We are 2 guys, 1 Necronomicon.
And we are signing off.